Welcome everybody, and thanks again for joining us. I'm so happy to be with you here from Northern Row Brewery and Distillery. I am Craig Manis, Director of Business Operations here at American Legacy Tours. And once again, we're going on an adventure together as we explore Cincinnati together virtually. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel for all future content, and please like our videos, and can't wait to show off this beautiful building with you all. A really cool thing about being here at Northern Row today, this is the first video I get to do where we are in an active operating business. Instead of being in some old underground brewery tunnels, an abandoned historic theater, an old church, now we are in an actively operating brewery and distillery. And due to the current things going on right now, they have switched over to making hand sanitizer here. So that's a really cool thing, seeing a company pivot and really doing whatever they can to help out the community. You can see the brewery and distillery right here off of my shoulder. We'll do a little tour and explore that space here in a little bit. They, as I mentioned, are an active business right now, so you might hear some noises going on around me. That's just the hustle and bustle that's happening. So pretty cool to see the place actively operating. You can pick up your hand sanitizer here. They're doing carry-out orders of food, and of course they're doing growlers of beer to go as well. So great to see that the brewery is still operating. Delicious. Northern Row gets its name because where Liberty Street runs just a few blocks south of here, that used to be called Northern Row, and that was the northernmost border of Cincinnati up until 1849. Anyone living on this side of the street was outside of city limits. That meant no law, no taxes. You could do whatever you wanted in this neighborhood and get away with it, giving it the nickname of the Northern Liberties. The building that we're in itself has a lot of history behind it. This is the old stockhouse of the Christian Moerlein Brewery. Christian Moerlein at one point was the largest brewery in Cincinnati, one of the 5 biggest breweries in the entire country, producing over 500,000 barrels of beer up until their closure at Prohibition. This would have been the stockhouse. It was a storage facility so that they could ferment and age their lager style beer. There was an ice house located next door, which would produce giant blocks of ice on an industrial level. And here at the stockhouse, they could pack that ice around their beer, keeping it nice and cold. And Christian Moerlein could produce nice, delicious lager beer all year long. One of the things I really like about Northern Row, I mentioned they have a lot of really historic things that they've brought into their bar here and all around the surroundings. The chandeliers that you see up here hanging from the ceiling, those are old spotlights from Cincinnati Gardens. The back bar, that is an original Brunswick bar that was made in the 1800s. Brunswick was world renowned for their bars, later very well known for their pool tables. And that was made right here in Cincinnati. It was shipped off to a bar in Golden, Colorado, and then brought back to Cincinnati just about a year ago. One of my favorite aspects of this bar is you would think all of this designed and goes together originally. The back bar is the original Brunswick. The front bar is actually all custom made. One of my favorite features of it is the tin that you see underneath the bar. That comes from an old historic property in Reading, close to downtown Cincinnati, that was getting torn down, and they were able to preserve the ceiling of some of those rooms and incorporate that into the bar. Now they ran out of paneling right here at this edge. So the paneling you see on this side, that is actually a plaster mold of the original tin. Pretty indistinguishable when you look at the two. The only way to tell the difference is by the touch. So hopefully very soon you'll be able to join me right here in Northern Row, enjoying a nice cold beer, ponying up to the bar. That's good stuff. All right, folks, it's my pleasure to share some really cool stuff with you right now, so buckle up. The columns that you see here supporting the building, those are all columns of Carnegie steel. Carnegie Steel Company was around from 1892 until 1901 when they were bought out by U.S. Steel. The cart you see here is an original beer cart from the Christian Moerlein Brewing Company that most likely would have been used in the 1800s up until the early 1900s. I love the custom-made tables that they have here. The feet of those tables, those are old rollers from the Paper Products Company on Queen City Avenue and Harrison Avenues. Those would have been at the top of the room, supporting 25-foot columns of Carnegie steel as those would roll from one end of the room to the other, holding industrial equipment. And the feet of those tables are original railroad tracks from the 1870s as the railroads expanded westward. The boat you see on the ceiling, this is the sister boat to the 1936 gold medal winning United States Olympic crew team. This boat was not actually used in action. This was the sister boat that traveled with them. You see packaging in action right here is Northern Row. It's switched over mostly to making hand sanitizer. 3,200 bottles a day they are now producing and getting out to people in need. You get a good look at that Carnegie logo right here on the beam as we look into the distillery and brewery. You can really see here a good glimpse of those extra thick walls for insulating beer. These shutters on all the windows, that is reclaimed wood from the brew deck, as they put in all the plumbing there and built the brew deck here. They took the original flooring, as you see it's a perfect match, and put that right into the shutters. Now we're about to head into one of the coolest spots here at the Christian Moerlein Stockhouse in present day Northern Row Brewery and Distillery. We're going to go down into the basement of the building. It has 25-foot high columns of Carnegie steel lining the entire room. The columns in the front of the building are a little bit taller than the ones in the back. So each set of steel beams is a little bit shorter than the ones in front of it. That creates a natural slope throughout the entire building for water drainage to go out. So you can imagine here at the brewery, they've had quite a fun time trying to build a level surface on a slightly sloped floor. Really a good time. The bar itself is even a little bit sloped from one end to the other. As we go down into the basement, you're going to see one of the original ice chutes, as those blocks of ice would come down from the Christian Moerlein ice house, and they could pack them around those giant fermentation tanks. With having 25-foot high ceilings, you can imagine how big those tanks would have been, and there was so much weight of the beer pressing down those over the years, there's left an impression on the floor, 48 circles down the floor of those original fermentation tanks. And we're gonna go down and check out that space right now. Thanks again for joining me, folks. It's been my pleasure showing off the beautiful Northern Row Brewery and Distillery, the historic Christian Moerlein Stockhouse. It's been a lot of fun showing off the city and particularly the Over the Rhine neighborhood with you recently, folks, and I hope you keep coming back for more. I have a lot of cool spaces to show you. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel for future content. Please like our videos, and please stop in to Northern Row and help them out right now as they're doing beer sales. Pick up some food, grab your hand sanitizer. I know it's really hard to find that, but they have it right here. You can stop in between 10 and 5 and pick that up. And soon enough, please come back and join me for a nice cold beer with my good friend, the Beer Weasel. Cheers. Have fun, everyone.